What's good, everybody? It's when I come back at you on another video. So with this video, I wanted to talk about faith and to explain to you why faith is the antidote for failure. So before I jump in, I want to first talk about failure. And this is going to sound very backwards because I know the title of the video is Faith is the Antidote for Failure. But in actuality, I personally believe that failure doesn't even exist to begin with, right? I know most people believe that failure is a thing. I don't necessarily believe that entirely. Of course, there might be some instances where you can make the case for failure, but failure is never truly a thing because failure is what you deem or what people deem to be failure. It's just perspective, right? So events that happen in our life, experiences that happen in our lives, they're not good or bad, they just are. But we as people, we have the tendency to place things in buckets, right? We can place events and experiences that happen to us either in a good bucket or a bad bucket, right? So something happens and it's pleasurable, you'd be like, okay, that's a good event. If something happens and it's not ideal, you say, okay, that's a bad event, right? Or if something goes wrong, that you did something wrong or things didn't work out for you, you'll say, or you have a shortcoming, you'll say, oh, okay, well, that is clearly a failure. But what you need to understand is you can find the good in every situation. And sometimes when you have a shortcoming in life, what you deem to be a shortcoming in life, right? You don't know whether or not that event was supposed to happen to give you the experience and the knowledge that's needed to prepare you for your next endeavor, right? For example, if we use sports, right? It is uncommon for an athlete to win the championship every single year for all 15, 20 years that they play sports, right? 10, 15, 20 years, right? No athlete, as far as I'm concerned, has ever done that at the highest professional level, right? Some of the best athletes on the planet at their given sport has only won maybe one time or a couple times or several times. Very few who've won 5, 6, 7 times, right? So people will say, oh, if you didn't win the championship this year, it's a failure. And I can understand that to some degree. But what you need to understand is for a lot of those great players that have won, they've experienced those losses. They've experienced those shortcomings, right? And those were all events and experiences that they were able to obtain and receive that helped prepare them and propel them forward to finally break through and win that championship, right? Happens all the time. So those shortcomings, people can label it as failures, but for some people, they need to experience that and go through that to then have the fire be lit inside of them to help push them forward and to finally get over the hump, right? So when these quote unquote failures happen, they're never actually failures because it's all about your perspective, right? You can find the good in in any situation. You can find something good, something positive. You can find a way for any event or any experience in your life to somehow be beneficial to you, right? You can find the good in every situation. So this is why failure, to be completely honest, right? That's why failure doesn't actually exist, because things in your life, things don't happen to you, they happen for you. They happen for your betterment. They happen to help bring out the best version of you. And these events happen to help you grow and to continue becoming the best version of yourself. So that's why in my opinion, failure doesn't exist. But for most people, failure does. For most people, failure is a thing, right? And so in order to cure that, in order to fix that, right, faith serves as the antidote for failure. Why is that, right? Faith is the same as belief. And in order to succeed in anything, you need to have belief. You need to have faith. Having faith is essentially having that confidence that things will work out, having that belief in yourself that you are the best, having the belief in yourself that things will work out, that things are aligning itself for you to succeed or for you to win, right? It's approaching things with that confidence. And you can actually think and talk yourself into faith, right? And that is by repeating affirmations, right? That is by complimenting yourself, by giving yourself positive reinforcement. That's by thinking and saying what it is that you want out of life or out of each of these given scenarios or experiences in your life, right? For most people, that's not the case. For most people, they often think about or speak upon their own limitations, their self-imposed limitations, right? They'll say, I can't do this, or this is not possible, right? It's very normal for people to say that. And that is them imposing limitations on themselves or trying to impose their own limitations on other people. If you believe as strongly about being capable of accomplishing anything and everything as you did in the limitations that you impose on yourself, right? Of saying this can't be done, this is impossible, this won't work out, right? Instead of saying all of that, if you were to just flip it and be on the opposite side of the spectrum and believe that it was possible, believe that it could be done, believe that you were good enough, that you were worthy enough, how much further do you think that would take you in life, right? Because oftentimes that hump right there, that obstacle, that mental barrier is usually what prevents someone from even getting started, right? Because someone will make their mind up whether or not it's possible or not for something to do, for something to be accomplished. And if they believe that it's just not possible, that alone right there will prevent them from ever getting started. If it's something, if you have a goal or a dream of yours to do something, to be somewhere, but you label that as impossible, then that means you don't have any faith. That means it won't happen, right? And people will label that as a failure. But if you had faith in yourself, belief, confidence, trust, not only in yourself, but in the universe, that it's a friendly universe, that the universe is looking out for you, that the universe wants to deliver you what is it you ask for. It wants to deliver it to you more than you actually want it for yourself. And it's moving variables, people, events, circumstances, everything behind the scenes to help deliver you that, right? People, if they don't have, those variables that the universe moves behind the scenes, your senses won't be able to pick it up, right? That's what people often forget. So because they may not be seeing any evidence, or they may just be seeing counter evidence in their life, that's often enough for people to give up and often to say it's not possible, right? But if you have faith, you can succeed, you can win, right? Everything that's ever been accomplished all begins with faith. That is the very beginning. That is the common denominator, because it needs to start off with belief. Because if you didn't believe in something, if you didn't believe in a purpose or a mission or what you want to accomplish, you wouldn't persist at it. You wouldn't want to go the extra mile. You wouldn't want to keep going. So it all starts off with belief and faith. So this is why faith is the antidote for failure, because if you just don't believe it's possible or it can be done, that means you don't have any faith. That means you're giving up and you're letting it go. And in a case like that, most people will label that as a failure. But even if you have these shortcomings, right? These shortcomings, if you believe, you will still win. If you believe you are great even before the rest of the world sees that, even if you have these shortcomings, you won't see them as shortcomings. Or even if you do see them as shortcomings, right? You will still have belief that it can be done, and so you'll keep pushing forward, right? Even if other people label something as a quote unquote or shortcoming as a quote unquote failure, that can very well be the experience that you needed to get over the hump, to get to the next level, right? Because to be great at anything, you need experience. And how can you get experience if you don't do something, if you don't do it, if you don't go through the motions, right? And you going through the motions, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to mess up. There's going to be instances where things may not work out, right? But that's okay. Those are all experiences. They don't have to be good or bad. They just are. We can assign it in these buckets. Even if a shortcoming happens, it doesn't need to be assigned into the bad bucket. It can be put into the good bucket, right? Because that shortcoming can very well be fuel for you for your next run, your next great run, right? And that's what people need to remember. So all experiences can actually be good experiences for you. It can be, even if you've had these quote unquote failures, even if your dream is to be a restaurant owner because you love cooking for food, and your first, second, third restaurant all failed. Who cares? Doesn't matter. That does not have to define you, right? Those failures of those restaurants don't have to define you. If your dream is to be a restaurant owner, if that's what you can do, you can use the experiences of those restaurants, figure out and learn from what didn't work, to then to propel you forward, to have you win in your fourth restaurant, right? That's with all things. Sometimes in order for you to learn what works, you have to learn what doesn't work, right? And sometimes you have to make those mistakes and mess up. Those don't have to be seen as failures. They can be seen as maybe shortcomings if you decide to see it that way. But if you keep going, if you keep pursuing it, how can that be a failure? You're constantly growing and learning. How can that be a failure? You're constantly pushing forward. Every single obstacle that knocks you down, you stand up. How can that be a failure, right? It's unlikely for someone to just strike gold and succeed the first try without any experience in anything, without having any knowledge in anything, right? Like, that doesn't happen often, right? Or it's a rare case, right? Like, people label it as a miracle, right? But faith, having belief in yourself, that is the antidote for failure. Because if you have trust in yourself and trust in the universe, the variables will work itself out. The things will align. Miracles will happen. Blessings will unfold. But because you have that faith and belief in yourself, you're going to keep moving forward. And then if bad things happen, shortcomings happen, you'll smile, because you'll know that that's more experience under your belt that you can learn from to help push you forward. If you don't learn from experiences or events that happen in your life, it's hard for you to continue getting better and improving. It's hard for you to have confidence in yourself, because you're not learning from the things that are appearing to go wrong, right? Faith is another word for belief. Belief and persistence are the same thing, right? Because if you didn't believe, you wouldn't persist. So having faith, that is the absolute foundation for everything, for all achievement. You need to believe, because if you do not believe, you will simply just give up and let it go. But if a goal or dream is a worthwhile goal or worthwhile dream, if it means something to you and this purpose behind it, then you need to have faith. You need to establish faith that things will work out for you. And you may not know how. You may not see the entire road, right? You just may see what's immediately in front of you. And that's okay. Trust that you are going in the right direction, that you are heading to where it is that you need to go, right? And don't let these obstacles, allow life to unfold, and don't allow these obstacles to put you off track, right? Keep heading in that right direction. Even if doesn't matter if you're running, walking, crawling, right? Continue heading in that direction and you'll eventually get there. So faith is the antidote for failure, because if you believe in yourself, that's when you develop a confidence. That is when belief is the foundation for success, right? Because in order for you to succeed, you just need to make up your mind, right? You just need to make up your mind that you're gonna get something done, that you will win. Once you have your mind made up that you are going to win, that's the faith. That is the antidote for failure, because you will win. You made up your mind. So now you're just thinking about winning. You're thinking about everything you need to keep pushing forward. You're thinking about being persistent, and you will be persistent. So that's it. It all boils down to having faith, having confidence, having belief, because faith is what will create success, right? So that's why faith is the antidote for failure. So that wraps up the video. Enjoy the video. Do leave a like and subscribe, as we are on the road to 100 subscriber, guys. So once again, this is Joel, and I'm out. I'll see you guys for the next video.